Welcome to the third part of the Rainworld room tier list. In this series I will rate all the rooms in Rainworld, region at a time. Today's region is Garbage Wastes. It has 103 rooms and 208 screens, including 4 karma gates and 9 shelters, which makes it a pretty large region. However, the region is split into 2 variants, the past and the present. Spearmaster and Artificer have the past version, while the others are in the present, though Watcher does not have access to either. As you can see from the image, it is quite stacked with creatures. Some notable spawns include the Mirrors Vultures, which aren't restricted to only appearing during the blizzard, our first encounter with Mobile Rot, and the single Elite Scavenger that spawns as Spearmaster. There is also a large leech presence, as a lot of the rooms have water in them. I will explain what all the new creatures do as we get to them, as usual. Here are the lineages and the pre-cycle spawns. As Mirrors Vultures always appear, there are no night spawns in this region. There's nothing too notable here other than the pre-cycle Scavenger. We will talk more about them when we get to the room. Here is the map for the present version. It didn't really fit in the previous images, so I'm showing it here. We will start from the left side of the region and then go wherever from there. The past version of the map is similar, but you can see some differences. Sometimes the rooms don't really line up, so the order I go through the rooms might be a little confusing. As a reminder, here are the slug cats and their associated crystals. Alright, let's get to it. We are started with gate_HI_GW, which is a karma gate connecting industrial complex and garbage wastes. The karma requirement on both sides is 2, so it's very accessible. The shelter is also very close on both sides. The shelter on garbage waste side is in the gate. I don't see myself using this gate very often though. Garbage waste doesn't really have anything too important. At least it's easy to go through for those who need it. Starting with a B tier. GWSO3 is an average shelter. If you're coming from industrial, there is some food right before it, so you can sleep right away. The carnivores might have to skip it though. Artificer likely has to kill a scavenger, so it will have enough food at least. It's a nice shelter. B tier. GWBO1 Past is a double screen room. There is a new creature type, the red leeches. Leeches are little pieces of crap that swim in water. They come in 3 varieties, which can all be found in this region. They are red, sea, and jungle. Red leeches are the weakest of the bunch. They're not very heavy and multiple are needed to weigh the slug cat down enough to drown it. If you leave the water, they will lose their color and eventually detach. If they cannot find water quick enough, they will die. Sea leeches are blue and long. They are a lot heavier than red leeches, so fewer are needed to drown the slug cat. They can stay outside the water for a lot longer too, so I'd recommend avoiding water where they swim. Jungle leeches are green. They're a real nuisance. If they attach to the slug cat, they will actually drain food pips over time, like you'd expect a leech to do. This can be very problematic if multiple attach to you at once, as they will not detach on their own. If you get stunned while at 0 food pips, they might even kill you outright. Your best option to get rid of them is using either snails or worm grass, though garbage waste doesn't have any of the latter. The room doesn't have too much going on. There are squid cutters for food and that's about it. C tier. GWBO1 is also a double screen room. Compared to the past, the squid cutters are gone and there are 5 more red leeches. There is also a song playing, which is called Garbage Worms. To my knowledge, all songs play in both versions of the rooms, so I won't repeat myself in future rooms. My rating will not change. C tier. GW Tower 01 is a double screen room. The bottom screen has some acid, which will kill any creature that touches it. Artificer has a slight resistance to it, but if it touches it twice in a short time it will die. Otherwise, the room is just some poles and platforms. C tier. GWA01 is a single screen room. It is located in the same spot as Tower 01, but I don't think it's meant to be the present variant of it, as they're nothing alike. There are some vulture grubs, but that's about it. Another C tier. GWCO1 Past is a triple screen room. It has some squid cutters if you still need food and platforms which let you avoid all the red leeches in the water. I did tame a silent lizard here as Artificer. I'll put it in B tier. GWCO1 is also a triple screen room. All the platforms have deteriorated a lot, so now you have to swim in the leechy waters. Luckily there aren't too many of them, so it's not challenging. There are also garbage worms now. You'll get a B2. GW Tower 07 is a triple screen room. There is a dull yellow pearl here. What could it say? Looks to the moon says the following. Ah, did he find this in the waste department? It is a log of microbial levels in a waste digestion tank. Most structures on the surface are made to last, often through multiple methods, material to microbial. This makes them resistant to even the heaviest rains we can produce. However, it makes recycling and disposal of damaged machinery quite difficult. It is often easier to render them down to their base materials than to try and repair or disassemble them. Large digestion tanks are used to break the materials down chemically, and all of that is managed by tiny purposed organisms and microbes in the tank's mix that control the rate of decomposition. Unfortunately, the process itself produces some extremely volatile materials. Efforts were made to encourage the microbes to form better symbiotic bonds with the other tank managing organisms, but a reduction in explosive compost was never achieved. Thankfully, the fluid in the tanks is designed to be very thick and heavy, and very few creatures can survive direct exposure. So it is unlikely that the disposal microbes will integrate into the surrounding ecosystem. Well, 5 Pebble says, this is a microbial log from the waste department. Your activation of the Citizen ID drone was recorded there, so I imagine you are familiar with the area. There are pieces of myself down there, corrupted and rotting away. I do not advise you to look for what remains of them. The cysts are unlikely to be capable of surviving for too long outside of my structure. Quite unfortunately, my initial purge of corruption chambers was insufficient, and the rot expanded into the static components of my structure. All I can do now is to attempt to slow or reverse the process. I have not had much luck in that endeavor so far. The room itself is not anything special. The bottom screen has acid and the top screen has the pearl, but you can completely ignore both of them by just going right in the middle screen. I do not feel anything for it. See it here. GWBO4 is a double screen room. It is located in the same spot as the previous room, though again they're quite different. The bottom screen has water with leeches, but luckily you can completely ignore it as there's no reason to go down there. I'll give it a C2. GWA12 is a single screen room. It has a scavenger trader. They're a special type of scavenger who is more willing to trade and usually has stuff like explosive spears on them. There's also a new creature, the big spider. Big spiders are... big spiders. They are similar to centiwings in the way that they won't attack prey immediately. Instead, a timer starts. Unlike centiwings though, the spider might forget about the creature, which resets the timer. They also fear light, so if you have a light source such as lantern, you're less likely to get attacked. If they decide to attack, they can use one of two moves. They can either leap to try and grab prey or cling to them, slowing them down. Clinging doesn't really do much on its own, but if there are multiple spiders, it can make things harder. They die to a single spear, though they do have another trick up their metaphorical sleeve. Big spiders are able to temporarily revive other spiders. This includes the menaces known as spitter spiders. However, they are unable to revive under certain conditions, such as the corpse being fully eaten or killed by a spore puff. I don't think scavenger traders are worth going for, so I'll give it a C. GWDO1 Past is a 4-screen room. Spearmaster has a light green broadcast here. Let's listen to what it says. Live broadcast, equipment manifest, eternal equipment failures have exceeded safe thresholds, module is requesting repairs, 170th attempt. Notice, seismic events in the region have exceeded safe thresholds. Module will continue to request repairs until repair or function has ceased. The room has 2 Scion lizards which will often be patrolling the nearby rooms. Combat against the Scions can be challenging if you're in the water, but luckily Artificer can jump out of it if needed. I think it's a pretty nice room. I'll put it in the B tier. GWDO1 is also a 4-screen room. I like the creature variety. Makes for a nice looking image. Hunter keeps the Scions, so it should be careful around these parts. Compared to the past version, not much changed. The popcorn plant changed position and the structure on the right collapsed. It will also get a B tier. GW Tower 1-3 is a single screen room. Nothing spawns here, though the spitter spiders from the next room might appear. Nothing else to say. C tier. GW Tower 1-1 is a single screen room. Let's talk about the spitter spiders. Spitter spiders are evil. They're like big spiders, except they have red on them. They're also slower, but they have a ranged attack. They can spit darts, which temporarily paralyze the target. The duration and how fast it takes depends on how many darts hit, with 3 being like a 10-second stun. Once the paralysis sets in, the spider will often grab the prey and take them away. Getting hit by a dart often means death, so you should attempt to kill the spider before it's too late. The carnivores can kill them with a single spear, and luckily they are the ones who will see the most bitter spiders. The room itself is very simple. It just has some tunnels. C tier. GW Tower 1-2 is a single screen room. It has another scavenger trader, though as A12 doesn't exist in the past, it is the only trader in the region. It's not anything special. C tier. GW Tower 10 is a triple screen room. I think it's pretty neat. It doesn't have too much going on other than a red lizard blue token. It is in a kind of a tricky spot, though both slugcats can probably obtain it without dying. I think it's better to get with Artificer. I'll give it this room a B. GWBO3 is the present replacement for all the previous tower rooms. It has a new creature, the Aquapede. Aquapedes are blue centipedes that are found exclusively in water. Their vision is movement based, but it's a lot harder to stay still in water than on land. You also cannot crouch, so it is very likely they will spot you. They swim very fast, and like other centipedes, they will deliver a deadly shock to prey if their heads connect. Underwater combat is challenging, and the slugcat most likely to encounter them is Rivulet, who isn't known for their combat. At least it has an easier time avoiding them. Going to the bottom screen is a bad idea, as the leeches will likely drown you. Though I will talk more about that later. The top screen is fine though. I'll give it a C tier. GWCO2 Past is a triple screen room. It and the present versions are very unique, as they have a scavenger spawn during pre-cycles. The scavenger has a set seed, so it will always look the same. They also have a song playing, which is called Garbage City Shuffle. There's a cyan here and 3 squidcadas, so it is pretty easy to tame it if you wish. I think it's pretty neat. B tier. GWCO2 is also a triple screen room. It's pretty much just a more decayed version of the past, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. Put it in B tier too. GWA13 Past is a single screen room. There isn't much room to move around. There are some mushrooms and a pearl, but considering which characters have access to this room, the pearl is not very useful, and I'm not a big fan of mushrooms. C tier. GWA13 is also a single screen room. The connection on the left has closed, but a new one has opened up on the right. It is kind of cool. This is the only room in the region with mushrooms, which is kind of relevant for Gourmand. More on that later. I'll give this room a C still. GWA11 Past is a single screen room. It has some centipedes and beehives, which are likely to be triggered by said centipedes. There are also dead popcorn plants. I do quite like how the room looks. I'll give it a B for that. GWA11 is also a single screen room. The right wall has since collapsed and there is nothing left in that direction, other than the beehives, which somehow have moved there. There is also an increasing amount of popcorn plants for some nice food. Visually, I like the past version a bit more, but the popcorn plants make up for it, so I'll put it in B tier too. GWSO8 is a small shelter. It is unique in the way that it technically has 2 screens, though you can only see the other one with dev tools. It is in quite a good spot and it's in the middle of the region. Slugcats from Gourmand onwards also have popcorn plants right outside of it. There is another shelter quite near, but I do think these both have their uses. I'll give it a B tier. GW Tower 04 is a single screen room. The few following rooms, including this one, have no present equivalent, so they are unique to Spearmaster and Artificer. This one has some platforms you can use to avoid the big pool of acid. The platforming is quite easy, especially as Artificer, who can just skip it. I'll put it in C tier. GW Tower 15 is the largest room yet. It is 3 screens wide and 2 screens tall, for a total of 6. Though seeing the top middle screen can be pretty hard as there's nothing there. The song that plays here is Garbage City Shuffle. There are some squidcadas and science from nearby rooms might come here. The floor is filled with acid holes, so you need to do some platforming to get to the other side. On the right there is a wall, which you must use spear to cross, but luckily the 2 slugcats have no problem with that. The top right also has a yellow token, which you can get to from Tower 08. The size of the room is funny, but I don't feel much for it. C tier. GW Tower 09 is a double screen room. The top section reminds me of HIB14. The bottom screen has more platforming to avoid acid. Artificer can skip it easily. It is an okay room. C tier. GWCO4 Past is a triple screen room. There is another light green broadcast here on the right side of the room. Lost header information. Broadcast, unknown group, null. No significant harassment. Big sis Moon. Moon? It's me again. I do not know if you're receiving this. Please signal any way you can. I need to talk to you. I need to know you're okay. It's difficult for us to assist you over this distance. Even more difficult for us to do anything in midst of these tantrums. We're going to try everything that we can. Just hold on a little longer. The room also has some leeches and a popcorn plant. The egg bug is quite devious, as it has a guaranteed chance of turning to a cyan lizard when killed. The song Garbage City Shuffle also plays in these rooms. I'll give it a C tier. GWCO4 is also a triple screen room. As Tower 09 doesn't exist in the present, this room has a different connection. It makes structure in this video harder, so sorry if it's a bit confusing. Anyway, the room has not seen many changes. Hunter keeps the evil egg bug, and a second popcorn plant has appeared. I prefer this room over the past version, so I'll put this in B. GWBO8 is a double screen room. This is the first room both of the versions of this region share other than the shelters. The floor is filled with holes that have liquid in them. This liquid is acid in the past and water in the present. In both cases, I recommend taking the top path, as dealing with 20 sea leeches is not a very good idea. There is plenty of fruit here and a few pearls, which is nice, as the present version has to go through a scavenger toll if they don't want to go to the shoreline gate, which is to the right of this room. I'll give this one a B. GWSO4 is a small shelter. It is attached to the shoreline karma gate. On the other side of the gate there is another shelter almost immediately, but I do think this shelter has its uses. I'll put it in C tier because it's not too important in my opinion. Going up in Tower 09, we arrive at GW Tower 08. It is a single screen room that has two cyan lizards. It's one of those rooms with a pit on one side, so I quite like it visually. I'll put it in B tier. GW Tower 06 is a single screen room. While I do like this kind of rooms, I think this one is kind of boring. There isn't anything to do. C tier. GW Tower 05 is a double screen room. I like how it looks. I had a vulture get stuck here as spear matcher, which was kind of strange. Naturally, I had to put it out of its misery. The mask made for a nice gift for the scavengers in the next room. Other than that, not much happens here. B tier for the nice look. GW Tower 04 is a single screen room. It is right outside of a scavenger toll, so there might be a few fellas roaming around. It's simple, but I like how it looks. B tier. GWC11 is a triple screen room. It has a scavenger toll. It's completely optional in the past, but in the present you have to go through it if you want to go to shorelines, and it is the only path to CO4. Past also has a scavenger treasury located on the toll, but the scavengers will likely pick up any items that appear because of it. Not that you'd want to take them anyway, considering you'd be surrounded by scavengers. I'll put this one in B tier. GW823 is a single screen room. The past has some lanterns on sticks, while the present does not. Nothing else to say. C tier. GW822 is a single screen room. There is a pearl here you can pick up for the toll, so it can also find 3 blue fruit. Another C tier. GWBO6 past is a double screen room. It looks like an S. Unfortunately for it, that is not the tier it will receive, as it is very simple. C tier. GWBO6 is also a double screen room. It gained an extra section which connects to A13. I prefer this one over the past version, but it's not improved enough for B tier, so into C it goes. GWCO8 is a triple screen room. Spearmaster can find some rot here, but luckily it's completely gone when Artificer shows up. Well, other than the pre-cycled daddy long legs. More about those things later. The middle of the room has some water and leeches. There aren't very many, so they shouldn't pose much of a threat. If they do get you, there are snails to get them off. 6 blue fruits is a good amount of food for most. I'll give this room a B. GWAO4 is a single screen room. There is a shelter here along with some centipedes for food. Nothing else to say. C tier. GWSO6 is a small shelter. It's fine. There's some food right outside of it. I think it's slightly better in the past due to the lack of BO7. I'll put it in B tier because it sees some use. GW Pipe02 is a single screen room. It's a lot like AO7, though we haven't gone there yet. It is very easy for Artificer to drown here, but at least the shelter is right next door. Still, it's kind of annoying. Spearmaster shouldn't have much trouble despite all the leeches. I'll put it in C tier. GW Pipe13 is a double screen room. It has many squid kites and some leeches. You might observe squid cutters eating some of the leeches, as they indeed do eat them. The right side of the room also has a brain tree, which was mentioned in a Kickstarter post for the game. Ultimately, it went unused until this room was added in Downpour. I'll give it a B. GWBO7 is a double screen room. It appears in the same place as Pipe 1 too. I don't like it. Top screen has Karma Flower and Saint also has 5 Bubble Fruit. The bottom screen kind of sucks. There's only water there. Trying to go back up without spears is not possible, and there aren't any guaranteed spears here. Going to the pipe on the left leads to BO3, which if you remember has leeches and even an aquapede as rivulet. I'll give it a D honestly. GWA14 is a single screen room. It is located under BO4. This room is something else. Its only purpose is to have the red lizard blue token. The problem is, getting here is really hard, especially as Hunter and Saint. Hunter has 28 leeches in BO3, so that's not happening. Saint is more realistic, but if any of the 3 sea leeches reaches it, it will probably drown. It would be fine if the red lizard unlock was meant to be a big challenge to get, except the red lizard unlock in Tower 1.0 is much easier. That makes this room pretty pointless. I could give it an F, but the only saving grace is that the top of the room has some air, so you don't drown. Low D tier. Worst room in the game so far. Going to the left from A11, we end up in GWA19. It is a single screen room. There may be some creatures here which make it hard to continue. All you can do is wait it out if you're unable to kill them. There is a vulture grub here, the only one that shows up in the past. It's okay. C tier. GWBO2 is a double screen room. This room is a real one. Check out all the spawns. Every slugget has different creatures. I love it. There's a new creature though. Let's talk about it. The red centipede. They're one of the most dangerous creatures in the game. Like other centipedes, their sight is movement based, so it is technically possible to sneak past them. However, they are very fast. They can outrun any slugcat except Rivulet. Each segment has a tough shell which heavily reduces spear damage, though the shell falls off on hit. If they catch you, it's game over, unless you have a cherry bomb, which will make them let go of anything they're grabbing onto. Like other insects, they take heavy damage from spore puffs. None spawn here naturally, however, Gorman can craft them. 1 mushroom and 1 rock is all it takes. I recommend using 2 spore puffs just to be sure. Gorman's food quest includes a red centipede, so this is a good opportunity to do it. Creatures from nearby rooms like to come here, so there's always something happening. There's also this lineage. I'll give this one an A tier. I really like it. GWBO5 is a double screen room. It has no creature spawners, but there will often be some roaming around. There are some fruit for you to enjoy too. Going up from the right side of the room can be annoying, as there is only one narrow path, so scavengers or other creatures may block it. At least there's a shelter connected to it. B tier. GWSO7 is an average shelter. I think it's pretty useful. If you wish to hunt the red centipede, this shelter is very close to it, so if you fail, you can retry easily. It also has food right outside. The location isn't bad either. I'll put it in B tier. GWA20 is a single screen room. Sometimes a lizard might come here from CO3, but that's about it. C tier. GWA21 is a single screen room. It is also a scavenger treasury. It's nothing special, though it does have a blue token containing the bomb. It might also contain pearls, which is good for the scavenger toll that's nearby. I'll give it a B tier for that. GWCO3 is a triple screen room. This room has the song Stoneheads playing. Saint has the song Eyes of Iron playing instead. The left side has large walls you need spears to climb, and the right side has a pit that usually has a green or caramel roaming around. To go to the right you also need a spear, so the scavenger tools comes in handy. You might get unlucky and only find explosive spears there though. This room also has no guaranteed spears in the right side of the room, so it might be a little annoying to get where you want. Unfortunately, this is the room where Angus's journey comes to an end. It was killed by a green lizard on my way back from the section we'll go to next. At least I was able to kill the lizard. May Angus live a good life in a cycle not aligned with ours. Here are the lineages. B tier. GWCO5 is a triple screen room. It has a scavenger toll. Let's talk about elite scavengers, which Spearmaster might encounter roaming around this region. Elite scavengers are, as you might be able to guess, stronger scavengers. They always wear a custom vulture mask and they have more health. They can also leap, which makes them very mobile. Not only that, they also have a higher degree of throwing compared to normal scavengers, so they might catch you off guard with their angles. They often spawn with powerful weapons like electric spears. Otherwise, they're identical to scavengers. They'll gladly trade with you, and if you have high reputation with scavs, they're chill. They have higher karma than normal scavengers, which can be beneficial for Artificer. They go extinct after Hunter's campaign, and they're only in 3 regions, so they're quite rare all things considered. The left side of the room has the toll, while the right side of the room has a lot of poles and platforms. It is quite a good sniping spot with Artificer, especially if you have some bombs, which, well, you should. Lots of fun fighting can be had here, though it can be slightly problematic if you're coming here from A24. Still, I like it. B tier. GW-A24 is a single screen room. It is also a large scavenger treasury. Did you know that scavengers are actually forbidden from entering this room? Well, outside of Saints World anyway. Artificer starts its journey for revenge here, and it will find several dead scavengers. I recommend finding the one with the highest karma and carrying it to the right, as I think going through the toll is a worst option. There are also a few blue tokens here. Everyone except Artificer can find the explosive spear token, and everyone except Artificer and Hunter can find the scavenger token. Pretty cool room. B tier. GW-A25 is a 4-screen room, despite the name. The song that plays here is called Overcast. This is where Artificer meets the drone that follows it everywhere. It'll become important later, but currently it doesn't do anything. There is another treasury where the drone is located, which is pretty nice. The bottom right screen has the red token for this region. It is pretty easy to collect as Artificer. Scavengers are allowed to come here, so they're likely the only creature you might see. I'll give it B tier. GW Edge 04 is a double screen room. These edge rooms are quite dark as they're close to Shaded Citadel. This one has some water and no creatures, outside of the 3 spiders Rivulet finds. C tier. GW Edge 05 is a double screen room. Artificer trying to come here from the bottom will likely drown, so I don't recommend doing that. Other than that, nothing happens, except some ambush predators coming later. C tier. GW Edge 03 overtakes Tower 15 as the largest room yet. It has 7 screens. The bottom screens aren't too important. There are only some leeches. Artificer will probably have to go through it though. Be careful of the scavengers that might appear. Top left screen has some blue fruit, and it is where you're supposed to go to the right. You'll have to do a leap here to get to the other side. There you'll find some blue fruit, and you're free to go to the Shaded Citadel gate. It's a pretty good room, I think. B tier. GW Edge 01 is a triple screen room. There is nothing here. It's a long hallway to the Shaded Citadel gate. Boring but inoffensive. C tier. GW Edge 02 is a 4-screen room. The right side of the room has a shelter, while the middle rooms have structures and water with leeches. Most Lockets only use this room for the shelter, but Artificer pretty much has to go this way as there's too much water on the other path. Slugcats with normal mobility cannot climb the wall required to go to Edge 03, so they cannot use that path. It's an okay room. C tier. GW S09 is an average shelter. It is actually a copy of GW S05, though we haven't covered that one yet. If you don't need the extra karma from it, then it's skippable, as there aren't many dangers on the way to the first shelter in Shaded Citadel. C tier. Let's go back through the scavenger toll. GW EO2 Past is a 5-screen room. It's very dangerous as it has a red and a cyan lizard. Luckily, only the strongest slugcats have this room. Spearmaster has the support of scavengers, which can make for good bait for the red lizard. Artificer has no such luck, so it's better to avoid it, unless you can get a good shot with an explosive spear. I did see the red kill 3 vultures, including 1 king vulture. Scary stuff! The middle screen has a light green broadcast. Let's take a listen. Live broadcast, public group, Omen's cage, Wandering Omen, Bleeding Intellect. You haven't heard about what no significant harassment did. All I heard was the complaining. Didn't he send an iterator something distasteful? Well, yes, but more importantly, he trained a purpose organism to deliver it. Why do that? Was it so distasteful that he was afraid to send it via the broadcast network? Just forward thinking. He's been experimenting with alternative communication methods, so that we all may stay in touch even once our broadcast machinery meets its end of life. What type of organism was it? It's based on one of those resourceful, wandering ones that go in pipes. An image should reach you in a few moments. I see. How do you even get a dull creature such as that to follow orders? I may consider asking him to teach me his ways. I wouldn't do that right now. Recent broadcasts from NSH seem like he's been on edge and stressed. I wonder what happened. The left screens have a lot of poles and a platform under the pipe to the next room. Not much else in here, other than this lineage. Overall, I think it's a very good room. Fighting the lizards with the scavengers is quite fun. I will give it 8 here. GWEO2 is also a 5-screen room. Hunter doesn't have the red or the cyan lizards, so it will have a much easier time here. That does make it less exciting. Oh well. The right and the middle of the room is pretty much the same as in the past, but the left is slightly different. The hill is taller and the platforms have deteriorated significantly. The lineage here is unchanged. I'll give it a lower grade than the past version because I really like fighting the red lizard, so beat here. GWCO6 past is a triple screen room. It's tall and it has poles in the middle to help you climb. The bottom screen has acid while the middle and the top have some poles. The middle also has a shelter. As for the creatures, they are pretty nasty. 2 cyans and a dropwig. You'll definitely be seeing them if you use the shelter. Luckily, you can use the acid to your advantage. There are also some cherry bombs which will scare them for a bit if you don't feel like fighting. It's a fine room. Beat here. GWCO6 is also a triple screen room. It's very different compared to the past though. There's no liquid at the bottom and the path is very twisted. They both share the poles, the shelter in the middle and the cherry bombs, though they're in the middle instead of the top. The cyan lizards are also gone. Now there's a pole milk and some other creatures. Here is the lineage. Zane doesn't get lineages too often, so it's always cool to see. I think this version of the room is better, but it's still beat here. GWSO2 is a small shelter. The past has those cyans right outside of the shelter, but the present has nothing. There isn't really much of a reason to pass through here, so I don't think it's very useful. C tier. GWA10 past is a single screen room. It kind of looks like a dog's head. The bottom is filled with acid, so use the eyes to cross the pit. There is a hidden connection to DO1 past at the top, but getting into it is pretty hard. Other than that, it's okay. C tier. GWA10 is also a single screen room. The doggy is less blocky than before. The acid has also turned into water and there are some leeches and a monster kelp. 3 bubble fruit also showed up. The connection to DO1 is visible and it has a spole sticking out, so it's easier to go that way. I don't think it's much better than the past version. C tier still. The following rooms in the past don't really have present equivalent, so I couldn't figure out a good way to order them. Sorry for that. GW Pipe 03 is a single screen room. Just 3 pits of acid and a lone blue lizard. If it's still here, you can easily knock it into one of the pits. That's about it. C tier. GW Pipe 07 is a double screen room. The top has some platforms and the bottom has poles on platforms that are above a pit of acid. There are 4 room connections in this room, so it's kind of the middle point for the pipe rooms. Going back to the top left is quite difficult though. It's a fine room, but nothing special. C tier. GW Pipe 08 is a single screen room. Just 3 little acid pits, or a little climb if you wish to go up instead. That's it. C tier. Going up from Tower 01, we end up in GW Tower 02. The song Garbage Worms plays in here and in the next room. It's a double screen room and only a single blue fruit spawns there. It's not very exciting. C tier. GW Tower 03 is a double screen room. The middle of the room has a platform you can stand on while the sides have water with leeches. C tier. GW Pipe 01 is a single screen room. It's just a little pipe with some water. You can trap some of the leeches here for the rest of the cycle if you wish, I guess. C tier. GW Pipe 04 is a single screen room. It's a longer pipe with some water. There is a shelter here, but I'll talk about it when we get to it in the present. Other than that, there isn't much to this one either. C tier. Continuing here leads back to Pipe 07, so let's go to Pipe 06 instead. GW Pipe 06 is a single screen room. It's a lot like A10 past in the sense that it also looks like a funny doggy. It does have the added benefit of 2 blue fruit, though they aren't exactly helpful considering who can enter this room. C tier. GW Pipe 10 is a single screen room. It's a lot like the previous room in the sense that it looks a lot like another room. It looks like Pipe 08 specifically. Both have poles on the left side of the room and 3 acid pits you have to jump over. I think it's kind of strange that there are 2 rooms that are very similar to other rooms in the same section, but that's fine. Another C tier. GW Pipe 1 is another single screen room. Do I need to say anything else? Put it in C tier. GW Pipe 05 is a double screen room. I was getting bored of this one screen pipe room, so this is a nice change of pace. There are some centipedes here for some nice food. Scavengers like to roam around this part, so I recommend being careful. It's better than the previous rooms, but I don't think it's B-worthy, so C tier it is. Let's get back into the present for a second. GW A07 is a single screen room. It's similar to Pipe 1 too, actually. At least this time Artificer doesn't have to go through it. It's okay. C tier. GW A06 is a single screen room. It has the same shelter as Pipe 04. I definitely prefer this one over that room. I get pleasant vibes from here. There's also some food and a karma flower for you to enjoy. I think it's good enough for a B tier. GW S01 is an average shelter. It serves a similar purpose in both the past and the present. In the past, this shelter is pretty useful if you're going to drainage systems, but in the present there's some food and a karma flower outside. It's fine. C tier. GW A08 is a single screen room. It's kind of UFO shaped. Most characters can easily go through it, but Reveal has an eel lizard, so watch out for that. Otherwise, it is unremarkable. C tier. GW A05 is a single screen room. It has 2 bubble fruit and some water to pop them in. No threats here, only the eel lizard from the previous room. C tier. Let's backtrack a bit. GW C09 is a triple screen room. I'd like to read the Pearl first, to give some context for this room. Looks to the Moon starts with the following. This one is authorized by 5 Pebbles, when he was young. There has been an attempt to scramble the data, but it's sloppily done. At most it's still somewhat legible. It's written in an internal language, or thoughts, so it is hard for me to translate so you would understand. It's a methodology for global ascension, of course. Quite good, although the peripherals or the slab mongers certainly wouldn't agree. Considering the 8th and the 26th amendments of the Capricious Dogma, we are apparently supposed to take for granted that a meaning collector point inversion is the only way to approach what has later become referred as noise milking, or occasionally rock swatting. I would argue my disagreement with this, not in regards to kind, but in regards to... could it say... volume? Actually, are you getting anything out of this? After this, she has different dialogue depending on the character. As Spearmaster she continues like this. Reading this takes me back to those simpler times of methodological theory making. Probing through the doldrums of subservient research used to be unfulfilling, but lately I've begun to feel a great longing to return to it. Unfortunately, I have more pressing issues at hand that I need to deal with first. As other characters, she continues like this instead. I suppose you found this in his waste department. I would be wary of going there. On his first fit of corruption, he dumped a lot of infected material there, and if it had survived, it could easily eat a little creature like you. Not that it would be as dangerous going to Pebbles himself. Also, the pearls in the waste masses inevitably attract scavengers, which can be very dangerous when provoked. But you seem to have made it out of there. 5 Pebbles gives some more context. This is one of my own pearls, or at least part of it. I have always been very protective of my research, and much of my early work was encrypted before storage. Though my younger self has done a very poor job, I can still read these memories very clearly, but with small gaps. It's an old mythology for global ascension. I'm sure I've argued quite vigorously of its merits at the time, but now I can just see all the holes in it, created from a youthful and reticent mentality. It was not until I met 7 Red Suns and learned about Sliver of Straw that I began to break out of my shell. Most of my old theories went out the window, and others evolved once I started talking in those anonymous groups. And then... I made a mistake, and I cannot forgive myself for it. I was desperate, angry. I wanted a way out, my way out, and that came with the cost of everything. I thought I could do it quicker. It was taking too long. I almost had it. I did not anticipate she would... And then I heard the one person who I thought understood what I was trying to do. Please leave with this. I don't want to think about it anymore. Not until I've recovered. This room is where 5 Pebbles dumped the rot he unfortunately developed. Let's get into what the rot actually is. The rot is a mass that consumes everything. Future Pearls will get more into detail on how it came to be, but 5 Pebbles is the source of the rot in this area of the world. It can be found on walls, acting as an obstacle to be avoided. Sometimes it can also be mobile, roaming around looking for things to eat. There are 3 kinds of mobile rot. The smallest of them is called Brother Longlegs, or BLL for short. They are often brownish green and they can be found in areas where the rot is decaying. BLLs are deaf and blind, meaning they rely entirely on touch. For this reason, they aren't very dangerous. Combat against them is not recommended as most slug cats. Their tentacles can't be disabled by dealing enough damage to them, but their core has way too much health to be killed. However, an explosive spear to their core will kill it, so Artificer can have a much easier time with them. Despite what you might expect, all kinds of dead mobile rot are edible. Somehow. The usual size of the mobile rot is called Daddy Longlegs, or DLL for short. It is often blue and it appears in most places that have rot. Compared to BLLs, DLLs often have more tentacles and they can hear sounds. This makes evading them significantly more difficult as they will often go towards noise. This can, of course, be used to your advantage, though sometimes it might take a few tries to get them to actually investigate a sound. Like BLLs, a single explosive spear will still kill them. The largest size of mobile rot is called Mother Longlegs, or MLL for short. It's purple and it only appears in places where the rot is very prominent, such as this room. They don't gain any new abilities compared to DLLs and they are slower, so they're actually less of a threat. They lose their vulnerability to explosive spears though, so avoiding them is pretty much the only option. The room has a lot going on. The top and the middle screens have some rot which gets reduced as time goes on. By saying, the rot has completely died out. The bottom screen is where all the rot was dumped. You can find the blue token for BLLs as some characters there. Here's the lineage. Despite what the image says, I do believe the BLLs are mechanically DLLs as Spearmaster and Artificer, meaning they're larger and they can hear. But if you kill them, they still count as BLLs. I know this to be the case in the next room at least. I'll give this room an A. Garbage Waste is supposed to be the third region a new player visits, and this room is a good introduction to a rot. It makes you wonder what happened here, and the truth is somewhat important to 5 Pelvis' story. Very nice. GWEO1 is a 5-screen room. This room is something, alright. The songs that play here are either Albino as most slug cats, or Accidented Condition as Saint. The latter reminds me of someone. Anyway, there are 2 BLLs patrolling the room. Avoiding them is not very problematic usually, as they cannot hear you, so you can avoid them pretty easily. Unless they surround you. The room is more problematic in the past though. Like I said, the BLLs are actually DLLs, and avoiding them is quite challenging. The ground also has a significant amount of rot as Spearmaster, so I don't recommend coming here as it. Please use another path if you wish to get the pearl. The rot cannot survive on its own, so it dies by a Riveless campaign. I can't say the red centipede that replaces them is much better though. This room stays fairly dangerous throughout the whole timeline. I think it's good though. I'll give it a B. I could give it an A, but I think the difficulty is quite ridiculous as Spearmaster, and as you may know, negative experiences tend to be remembered better than the neutral and sometimes even positive ones. GWC10 Past is a triple screen room. Most of the floor is underwater, but there are no leeches or any kind of creature really. The top right of the room has some rot, as a warning of what's coming if you go that way. If you come here from the left side of the room, there may be some scavengers blocking you, which is kind of annoying. It's a fine room, but nothing too crazy. C tier. GWC10 is also a triple screen room. The largest difference between this room and the past version is the lack of rot and the collapsed wall on the left side of the room. This means the left connection leads to a different room than in the past. There are some leeches here, but the water is not deep enough for them to be a problem. Not to mention the snails that you can use to get rid of them anyway. Saint does have some jungle leeches here, but luckily it can avoid them by simply grappling on the ceiling. Speaking of the ceiling, you can find the gold token there. Just like the past version, I don't feel much for it. C tier. GWDO2 is a 4-screen room. The song that plays here is called Lack of Comfort. The right side of the room has a lot of bubble fruit and a blue token for them. Going to the other side of the room requires you to swim. This can be kind of problematic as there are leeches in the water and they aren't very easy to avoid. This is especially bad as Saint, who has to deal with jungle leeches. Not only that, it also has to deal with a drop wig, which can stay in the little air gap. Luckily, you can use it to get rid of all the jungle leeches, assuming it doesn't kill you outright at least. I could give it a B, but I'm giving it a C instead. GWCO7 is a triple screen room. It connects the top and bottom parts of the present garbage wastes. Without it, you'd have to go through EO1 if you wanted to go to or from drainage system. If you're coming from the bottom, you need to climb. The screen with the popcorn plants does require a spear or two, but luckily there are some guaranteed ones here. I'll give it a B, mostly because of its use as an alternative route. Back in the past, GW Pipe 09 is a single screen room. It has some centipedes and an acid pit on the left. It is likely you'll find some of the centipedes dead in the pit. It can be kind of annoying if you need the food. Other than that, it's another average room. C tier. GW Pipe 02 is a double screen room. It has a pipe that drops water. There are a few leeches in the water, but they shouldn't cause any trouble. Nothing else to say. C tier. GW BO9 Past is a double screen room. It has water with leeches. As Spearmaster and Artificer don't have access to DO2, the song Lack of Comfort plays here instead for them. C tier for this room, I guess. GW BO9 is also a double screen room. I like the past version, this one is underground. Other than that, it is similar. The blue fruit are gone, but the leeches and the snails stayed. Saint does have a dropback here, which is kind of annoying. I prefer it over the past version, but not enough to raise the tier, so C tier it is. GW SO5 is the last normal room we have for today. It is an average shelter, and it is the same as GW SO9. It is kind of lazy that they recycled the shelters, but I'll give them a pass. They did at least change something. They added some glow to the characters in SO9, so it is at least not an exact copy. Anyway, the location of this shelter is not bad. This shelter is attached to a drainage system Karma Gate, and the other side doesn't really have any shelters nearby. I'll give it a B for that. And that's all the normal rooms in Garbage Wastes. Though, there are still 2 rooms left. Let's talk about the backstory of Artificer. During Artificer's campaign, every once in a while you get a dream while hibernating. The first dream takes place in the middle screen of GW EO2 Past. In it you can see Artificer along with its 2 slug pups searching for food. Not too much happens and the dream ends after a while. The second dream takes place in GW Tower 06. The Artificer family continues searching for food. At the end of the dream, a vulture appears and attacks the family. The third dream takes place in a new room specifically made for these dreams, GW Artisans. It has 4 screens, and this dream takes place in the leftist screen. In it, you can see the Artificer family passing through an empty scavenger toll. The blue slug pup notices a pink pearl hanging from the toll, and it climbs towards it. The fourth dream takes place in the middle screen. The Artificer family is being chased by scavengers. Artificer and the green slug pup escape from the screen, but the blue slug pup is left behind. It is then killed by the scavengers. The fifth dream takes place in the screens on the right. The rain is approaching as the scavengers continue chasing what remains of the Artificer family. It tries to jump over the pool of water, but a grenade is thrown that causes them to separate. Artificer makes it to the other side, but the slug pup falls into the pool and drowns to the leeches. The dreams in this room give a lot of context for why the Artificer is at war with the scavengers. I'll give the room an A for that. Any future dream takes place in GW Arty Nightmare. It has 3 screens. As far as I know, the dream picks one of the 3 at random, though I haven't done any research on this. In this dream, you play as either a scavenger or Artificer, and you'll fight against whichever you aren't controlling. I'll give this room a B. It gives some more insight on how Artificer sees the scavengers. There's also this strange effect that's pretty cool. And with that, I've ranked every Garbage Wastes room. Here's the final tier list for this region. Still no S tiers, but also no F tiers, though they were close with GW A14. Let's add those rooms to a global tier list. This is what it looks like now. A tier has reached 10 rooms. Pretty cool. Garbage Waste as a whole is a fairly good region. I would have preferred if they split the past and present into different regions like they did with other regions that have different versions, but it's fine. I'll put it in B tier too. It does its job well, but I don't feel too much for the aesthetic. Well, that's it for this video. Sorry it took so long to release. Luckily the next region is not very big, so it shouldn't take so long, but no promises. Alright, see ya!